向環球時事之門，真正言論門常開。劉墉、隨意門。
Okay, coming back, what you have just heard is actually, again, Benjamin Britten, Simple Symphony. Movement number 2 is all in, it's a string symphony, it's its own string orchestra only, and all in staccato, okay? I don't want to go further on that, it's quite boring, but it's actually quite easy listening, so try Benjamin Britten. He's called one of the greatest composers, at least classical music
of the 20th
composers
century, yeah.
of the 20th century, which is very rare for the UK because they don't normally have good composers. Right?
That's painful.
Normally we have only German composers, but yeah, Benjamin Britten is very good. Yeah. So now go back to politics. Now, it's very strange. Actually, you mentioned the point that actually there's a possibility that Democratic Party would sort of make a deal with Beijing and to pass the next constitutional reform. In that actually the chief executive election will not be a sort of a genuine chief executive election that Beijing can choose anyone they want. But you said actually then actually if they pass the constitutional reform proposal, then what's happening in 2016 means very little then.
Well, as we saw in 2010, right, when the Democratic Party do a deal with the liaison office, they really antagonize the radical camp. They also lose a portion of their voter base.
30%.
And you saw that in the 2012 Legico elections.
Yeah.
You know, they were punished. They lost quite a few seats, and yet, for some strange reason, rather than what you would see in any sort of democracy, where the party goes, "Oh, well, we're really sorry, we made a mistake. We're listening to the voters, and you know, we won't make that mistake again." We're still repeating the same argument since 2010, which is, "No, you voters are wrong, and we did the right thing." Well. Okay, political parties, for starters, don't tell your voters that they're wrong. That's like the first way to alienate them.
Yeah.
You should be listening to your voters and doing what they want you to do. That's how political parties work in democracies. So I very much worry that the Democratic Party will do the same again. You know, and it doesn't have to be just all of the Democratic Party, because there are other independents who are prime candidates for caving. So if they cave in, you know, you only need 3 of them to cave in, and there's already 4, and we're already, you know, there's more than 4 prime candidates for doing that. So it's really serious.
Yeah.
And you know, if the basic law, if the Democrats, pan-Democrats, lose this a third of the vote, then the basic law can be changed without.
That's true.
Any opposition. And you know, so we're already seeing religious freedom being hampered. Falun Gong are harassed every minute.
Yeah.
You know, we're already seeing press freedom is nowhere to be seen, really. You know, it's already being eroded. You know, Hong Kong dropped from what, 16 to 61st in the free press. You know, you're seeing all these things happen, and just imagine we supposedly have the basic law protecting these rights. Well, when the basic law is not protecting these rights, because they no
Article
longer
23?
Oh, just get passed, won't it?
Yeah.
I mean, so all these things can happen. So I think, you know, and I'm not being a doomsday person. I'm just saying that this is actually, this very easily can happen, because over the last few years, you've seen the pro-Beijing vote go up. It's very, very well coordinated. You know, Hong Kong is a very strange situation. It has an immigration policy which it doesn't control.
Yeah.
So all the mainland immigrants who come to Hong Kong to live are chosen by China. So of course, good, strong, united front workers. Yeah, they you know, these people are then phoned up and told, go and vote for FTU or go and vote for DAB. You know, this is your duty. This is how you got to Hong Kong. So, and others who might not even be living in Hong Kong anymore are bussed in for the day. And so the DAB as well are incredibly well coordinated. We saw it in Hong Kong Island, where Sangok Singh was on another ticket, from the rest of the
Christopher
DAD.
Chung?
Yeah, because they knew that this was, you can get less votes combined, but get in. And when you've got good ground game, which is what they call it in America, where
Yeah.
you go and knock on people's doors and you make sure your voters go out, when you have good ground game, you can coordinate and say, oh, please go and vote for Sanghat Singh, or please go and vote for Christopher Chung, and make sure both people get in.
Yeah, and they cut the districts nicely, then, and the votes are split evenly, perfectly.
And when they knew they had enough votes for Sanghat Singh, they could push everyone else on to Christopher Chung. Now, Civic Party, in all their wisdom, didn't do the same.
Oh,
when they would have actually got they would have got Chan Kar-lok and Tanya Tan in if they had split the ticket. But they couldn't split the ticket because they didn't have the coordination, the ground game.
And they thought they would have enough votes. So.
Yeah, but the ground game is critical to democracy. You know, you can't be a political party and just hope that your voters come out. You've got to get them out. You've got to tool that effort. And in many ways, you know, I think a lot of the pan-democratic parties will say, oh, well, you know, we don't have the resources. Maybe so, but there's also a significant way that becomes an excuse to not do it anyway.
That's quite true, actually. I mean, they have been using this excuse that CCP, I mean, Chinese Communist Party, is too powerful and they have all the resources, and well, what we can do is actually relying on Apple Daily and Economics Times and Ming Pao sometimes to do your propaganda and hope that they will come out to vote.
Yeah.
Now, so but then, yeah, you mentioned about the danger of Democratic Party or some independents to vote for a constitutional reform proposal probably next year. So what's your advice to radical parties like us? Or what's your advice to those students, I mean, like Joshua, Ma Zai, and scholarism kids, that what should they do? I mean, to not allow them to, or to actually to dissuade these sort of moderate Democrats to pass such a proposal, and
I think we really need to lay out to them and say, look, if you do this, you're probably not going to get elected next time round. That, you know, you will get punished because that's what happened in the 2012 election. And if you really care about democracy, then why are you voting for some half-assed version of it? You know, you either believe in it and you want it, the full version, not some vanilla version or some light version. So I think you know, they need to be, the pressure needs to be put on them to, you know, that they would be too ashamed to vote for it. You know, and that can be done in a variety of ways.
Yeah. People Power have been doing the way that the most loudest the attack on Democratic Party is just non-stop. People are complaining that actually this tactic may not work. Actually, we're adjusting, honestly. That actually, we'll keep our attack on Democratic, or we'll keep reminding people that actually Democratic Party has there's a danger that Democratic people will vote for that the non-genuine democracy proposals, and we're doing that. Actually, the kids, I mean, scholarism's kids, they're probably sort of doing this a different ways. They're sort of using their moral power to persuade the people on behalf, or like about 60% of Hong Kong people that support the Democrats, that actually we have the moral sort of, I don't know, it's called a high ground. The kids are driving the show now, actually, and they let those people know that actually we will stand firm on civil nomination and don't listen to Democratic Party. I don't know which way is better, but I think it's actually, for us at least, the sort of radical camp, although I know you don't like the word radical, but at the radical camp, we're doing different pathways to actually stop them.
I think it's important that, you know, the one thing I would say about Joshua and his gang of kids and what they're doing is, you know, if you put these moderate Democrats in a situation where they feel that they would be ashamed and that they know they would lose their seat if they voted for some reduced democracy
kind of
reform, then, you know, then they will maybe hold their nerve. But if you let them think that they're actually speaking for the majority of people, which is, you know, been the problem really with the Democratic Party. They have thought, because of their historical background of their party, that they speak, that they're the biggest party and that they speak for the majority. I mean, what they haven't realised and what they haven't adjusted to is that they're no longer the biggest party.
They're no longer. Yeah.
No. And yet the way they behave in the Alliance for True Democracy, they still behave as if they are, and you know, they when they don't get their way, they behave like a little child. So I think it's important that, you know, they need to come to terms with the fact that, you know, they are no longer the leaders of the show, and that therefore they actually do need to listen to their voters and try and understand why voters have been deserting them. And I think it's important to keep that pressure on them. However, one thing I would say about People Power is, when you field candidates in district council elections with no chance of winning, but splitting the Democrat vote, and therefore allow DAB to get in, are we really helping the situation? Because all then that happens is the super seats.
Right.
If you can only get to be a candidate for a super seat as a district councillor, and People Power have split all the Democratic Party's district councils, and so they've lost them. Civic Party don't do enough ground games, they don't have civic district councillors.
Yeah.
So basically you just handed over 5 super seats to the pro-Beijing gang. So I would say that only go for the ones where you know you have a good chance of winning, because if you're just going to take, you know, these district councils are just utterly shameful in that they are, what, 3,000 votes, many of them, 4,000 votes. So if you have a situation where the DP has, Democratic Party has maybe got 2,500 votes, and the DAB on the last time got 2,000 votes, and People Power come in and then take 800 of those votes away, or 1,000 of those votes away, then who wins? DAB.
Yes, well, and I understand where you're coming from, but actually in the last South Horizon by-election, actually we got more votes than the Democratic Party.
Then I don't have an issue if you're getting more. It's really when, if you parachute a candidate in that has no chance of winning, but will take away enough. I might not be a supporter of the Democratic Party's policies over the last few years, but you know, if you look at the bigger picture of keeping,
we sort of know. I mean, I have to. But if we don't do this, I mean, I'm not saying that actually in 2015, I mean next year we'll be doing the same thing. But actually, if we didn't do this kind of sort of strategy back in 2011, I mean, would they get the warning, or would they be punished enough?
Have they got the warning? Have they got the warning?
I don't know. I mean,
well, my point.
If they haven't got the warning, is it a right strategy to let them get the seats back? I mean, that's the thing, because they would say, you see Emily Lau's attitude. I've had quite a few heated debates with her. You may have heard.
I can sure.
Yeah. And then you've had her attitude. I mean, basically, I was right back in 2010. I mean, if you don't punish them enough, then they don't learn. And the thing is, actually, they still don't learn. I mean, at this moment. And what should we do? I mean, well, although quite a lot of people compare us to the Tea Party in the States, that actually you kick out all those Republican candidates by splitting the votes and everything. But we have to do this kind of sort of, I don't know, strategy sometimes to make them learn. But okay, we'll talk about this further after the break.
時尚國度世界大同，3個時裝愛好者食住花生睇 fashion。
你啊，咦，我知啊，
咁咧
好有型啊，我覺得佢。
但係咧，你第一嗱咁啊，見到有隻係咪柴犬啊？
係啊，
柴犬啦，咁但係佢唔係一隻普通嘅柴犬，你見佢，
我覺得佢係一隻似周杰倫嘅柴。
點解？你見到隻柴犬咧，佢幾鬼潮嘅喎，係咪啊？即係又戴帽啦，又着住啲拉鏈嗰啲 jacket 啊，其實同阿 Mac 嗰啲衣着 style 差。
又啱喎，
係咪啊？平時阿 Mac 都係。
佢今日就係咁樣咯。
係啦，
呢頂帽都係可以佢戴嘅。
阿咩好尷尬咯？
唔係佢頂帽又幾靚其實，即係阿 Mac 嗰頂帽。
3粒 Fashion Show， 逢星期4晚9點，集世界高端潮流品牌最新花邊消息，最潮配搭於一身，教你着得好睇兼且着得啱場合。迷米香港係有種態度。
一個 free 嘅平台，一早上網，有膽有聲話，迷香港，無牌無掛。